Today I want to revisit the topic of passing as white, and I want to use James Weldon Johnson's The Autobiography of an Ex-Colored Man to sort of build off of that. And if you don't know, like always, check the community posts because most of my videos, unless it's just a personal story or just me riffing off of certain information that I know, will almost always have um like a source list or a link to buy whatever book it is that I talk about in the community tab. So be sure to check that. Um but Yeah, the autobiography of an ex-colored man is basically um it's a story about um a man of color who passes as white. He's born, you know, shortly after emancipation. They never say that his mother was um a victim of that peculiar institution of the South, but they heavily imply it, and they heavily imply that his father was um the the proprietor of the businesses of the South, to put it in a way that isn't gonna get this video uh shadow banned or demonetized or whatever they call it now. Um but yeah, and so eventually they leave the South, and it's basically him growing up and observing his world as, a colored person, but also at the same time not, because he passes. And a lot of the stuff in the book sounds more like the inner narration of the protagonist. He doesn't even have a name. That's another big thing, right? That's supposed to add, I guess, to his dehumanization. But yeah, the inner narration of the protagonist sometimes is like a sociological essay. And what's interesting about the book is that, like, at certain points he seems naive to what he is. At other points, not really. Um, and I wonder if that wasn't intentional, because um the book is kind of sort of like a parody or of the narratives of people that were a part of this peculiar institution that they published, because it was its own, like, genre. Like, it had a set way in which, okay, they would be freed, or and then they would get some education, right? They would see the light, and then instead of, like, you know fairly assessing the situation, and sort of maybe rightly condemning the nation that allowed it to happen, they sort of like, oh well, the North was good all along. The United States was good all along. Europe was good all along, right? Well, this the Autobiography of an Ex-Colored Man toys with that, and be it's supposed to be at least a little ironic and a little humorous in my opinion. And but as you all know, I'm a Latino and I pass, and all I can say is that some of the situations in that book are like I relate to them so much, because the central crux of that book is really about finding where you belong. And like, at least if you're phenotypically or outwardly look like where you come from, or where most people think you're supposed to look like, or their preconceived notions, at least you're in a camp, right? But if the opposite situation happens to you, like in my case, you're left in this sort of ambiguous place, and it even sort of messes with how you should act as a person. Like, I know a lot of you probably have experience with people accusing you of acting white, or like I don't know, getting angry with you because you're not doing certain things which your group has quote unquote always done, and it's just the way we are. And you know being passing, that sort of, you question that more if you're passing. um and the book does an excellent job of um portraying that. And also, real quick, I just want to say that it highlights Afro-Latino culture as well. Like, a big part of the book, I don't want to give away too much, is the benefactor, or I'm sorry, not the benefactor, that's a different character. The protagonist, again, he doesn't have a name. Going and working in a cigar factory with Afro-Cubans, and that was a real historical thing. Like, and eventually he learns Spanish, and he becomes what they called back then a lector, which just is Spanish for reader. Since most of the Afro-Cuban cigar makers that came to the US were illiterate, what they would do is that they would get one of them, which was the more educated among them, and they would pool together their resources and just have him read to them their entire shift, like from the newspaper. Um, and so, but yeah, that's really all of my thoughts on that book, and how it relates to my experience as a person that passes. Thank you very much.